Hello, my name is Margaret Roderick. I will be talking about Jack-in-the-Box today in a presentation titled Form Follows Function, the Innovative Architecture of Jack-in-the-Box. Jack-in-the-Box opened in 1951 in San Diego, California. Robert Oscar Peterson, a local restaurateur, commissioned Russell Forrester, a local architect, to design his new chain's building. Designed by Forrester, the Mark I form corresponded to popular trends in post-World War II fast food architecture, but it was revolutionary because it included a drive-through. Popular trends in fast food architecture circa 1950 included contrasting colors, bright lights, and a unique profile with a futuristic look. For example, McDonald's 1953 building featured brightly lit golden arches that framed red and white striped tile-clad walls and large angled windows. Likewise, Burger King's 1954 building featured lighted handlebars rising from a flat roof with deep eaves and a wide-angled fascia. A long horizontal glazing program identified a walk-up window and an enclosed seating area. An arrangement coupled with a drive-through suggests that Forrester's Mark I design had far-reaching impacts. Both the golden arches and the handlebars were rooted solely within Googie architecture as non-structural, whimsical embellishments to catch eyes of automobilists. In contrast, Forrester's columns, aptly named Spider Legs by subsequent Jack-in-the-Box architects, were structural members. Because the building was futuristic with its automobile drive-through and two-way talking radio for placing orders, Jack-in-the-Box could borrow elements from Googie architecture but still be true to the modernist statement, form follows function, where the shape of an object is defined by the work it has to do. A graduate of La Jolla High School in 1938, Forrester promptly began his architectural career by working as a draftsman. Forrester, interested in the arts, deemed drafting a logical career path because he was, quote, handy with a pencil, paper, and ruler, but art seemed like an improbable way to make a living, unquote. After working as a draftsman for various firms for 10 years, Forrester opened his own firm in 1948 to 1949, and again in 1951 till his retirement in 1976. In 1950, Forrester and his wife Eleanor closed the firm and moved to Chicago to attend the Illinois Institute of Design, formerly the new Bauhaus established by Laszlo Moholy-Nagy in 1937. Moholy-Nagy extensively described the school's intentions and education program, first in the New Vision, published in 1938, and later in Vision in Motion, published in 1947. The foundation, or basic course, was heavily influenced by the instruction at the German Bauhaus, founded by Walter Gropius in 1919, where Moholy-Nagy taught from 1923 to 1928. As at the Bauhaus, Moholy-Nagy's new program in Chicago focused on integrating art and technology, and students were encouraged to design for the future. As the backbone of the educational program, the key aspect of the foundation course was to, quote, provide the student with the opportunity to become conscious of the world and himself through exercises which simultaneously train the intellectual and emotional spheres, unquote. Without focusing on historical developments in art, the program freed students to contemplate and produce unique, forward-thinking designs representative of the modern technological age. Rather than subvert the value of the machine and its technology, the program embraced it without negating the significance of handcraft knowledge. In addition to the foundation course, Forrester was exposed to a multitude of modern and contemporary architects, designers, and artists while in Chicago, including Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, director of the Illinois Institute of Technology's architecture department since 1938 and proponent of the International style. Miesian International style, fostered by the principle that less is more, typically meant a structural frame clad with a curtain wall where the needs of a space defined its form. In addition to leading the architecture program, Mies was responsible for developing a master plan for the campus. The construction of the Illinois Institute of Technology's campus was well underway by the time Russell and Eleanor Forrester attended the nearby Illinois Institute of Design. By 1950, completed classroom buildings at the Illinois Institute of Technology included Alumni Memorial Hall, Pearlstein Hall, and Wishnick Hall, in addition to 5 other buildings. While there is no direct evidence of Forrester ever meeting Mies or visiting the Illinois Institute of Technology's campus, it seems likely given that Mies was also the director of the Illinois Institute of Design program in 1950 when the two programs merged and held an office in downtown Chicago. Moreover, Forrester's work in and after 1950 evidences a Miesian impact, and scholars have suggested that Forrester is responsible for bringing the international style to San Diego. Therefore, in addition to Moholy-Nagy's program and interacting with fellow classmates, The avant-garde history of architecture in Chicago also played an important role in Forrester's development as an architect. Forrester saw, experienced, and engaged with this local visual culture and clearly responded to it. Forrester's oeuvre prior to attendance in the foundation course is limited, but he primarily designed modest custom ranches such as the 1948 Helen Ruth Daly residence. San Diego architects such as Lloyd Ruocco, whom Forrester worked with in the 1940s, influenced his work as evidenced in the 1948 Russell and Eleanor Forrester Residence No. 1. Returning from Chicago after only 1 year due to family issues, Forrester immediately began incorporating international style aesthetics into his work. For example, Forrester designed the first Jack-in-the-Box, which utilizes a skin and bones ideology, as I will show, and Russell and Eleanor designed their second home in 1952, which is nothing like Forrester's previous residential work. Robert Oscar Peterson established a number of restaurants in San Diego in the 1940s through the 1960s, including Topsy's, Oscar Coffee Shop, Jack in the Box, and the Family Tree Restaurant. Peterson opened the first Oscars after World War II and continued to operate it into the 1950s. In 1948, Peterson hired Forrester to design an Oscars location. Although it is unclear how Peterson and Forrester first met or why Peterson chose to hire Forrester, Peterson appears to have appreciated Forrester's work because he commissioned him to design buildings for 3 of his business ventures as well as a residence, which is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Oscar's Coffee Shop catered to the automobile age in Southern California. Common for coffee shops and drive-ins, Forrester designed Oscars in the Googie style. Googie architecture expresses the space age and technology-based post-war period and often contain sharp angles, large expanses of glass, an exposed steel structure, and dramatic roof lines. Furthermore, the Googie building was the billboard. With narrow frontage, Forrester's building required an eye-catching design. A white painted steel frame building with alternating full-height glass and bright red painted wood panels and a large neon sign above easily caught the eyes of passers-by. Following his experience designing Oscars for Peterson, Forrester combined his knowledge of Googie coffee shop design with his exposure to the international style from his time in Chicago to create Jack-in-the-Box. Typical of Googie architecture, the colorful billboard-like building was designed to attract passing motorists. But the functionality and structure of the building expresses the form follows function declaration of the international style. The first Jack-in-the-Box opened at 6270 El Cajon Boulevard in San Diego in 1951 and has since been demolished. The Mark I design, later used for a number of restaurants, included a flat roof with a wide fascia supported on either side by spider leg beams with a glazed box beneath where food was made and served. Historic photographs depict restaurant buildings with 2 or 3 spider legs. Also, the narrow side of the spider legs could face outward, away from the building, or parallel towards the street. There was outdoor seating to one side and a drive-thru on the other. Although some fast food stands sporadically used a drive-thru method prior to Jack-in-the-Box, this restaurant was the first one to foster, nurture, and develop the idea of a drive-thru as a major component of not only the service, but also of the building itself. As a major component of the building's design, Forrester needed to include a drive-thru driveway that was recognizable to patrons who had never seen, let alone used a drive-thru before. Indeed, the transition from a drive-in to walk-up self-service nearly caused McDonald's to go out of business in 1948 because the building failed to provide clear visual instructions to patrons. Was San Diego ready for the revolutionary drive-thru? Forrester explained that while people have proclaimed an artful handling of the Mark I Jack-in-the-Box design, he felt that, quote, this happened to be kind of a unique problem of how you put a tiny building on a site where you want people to drive through. The Mark I plan contained 806 square feet, including the outside dining area, the drive-thru, storage space, a trash room, a restroom, and the employee space, which contained just enough room for 2 employees. The interior employee workroom was punctuated by large expanses of glass along 3 sides. The self-service walk-up window was located on the primary elevation left of center so that the walk-up window and the drive-thru window along the side elevation could both be easily accessed by a single employee. The second employee prepared food to the rear. The building's interior was carefully devised too to maximize the efficiency of a 2-employee scheme, a typical cost-cutting measure circa 1950. The arrangement of the building's employee space denotes an example of form-following function in a very practical sense. Forrester designed Jack in the Box not only in order to produce food, but also to express the building's function as a drive-through to passers-by. By extending the roofline over the drive-through service window and supporting it by 2 or 3 columns, Forrester created an outdoor room or extension of the building through which automobiles traveled rather than alongside it. As such, Forrester made clear the path of the automobile, alerting customers of this innovation in the fast food dining experience. Contained within the building, those passing by, likely in an automobile at speed, could understand the purpose of a drive-through even if it wasn't in use at time of passing by. While the McDonald's brothers purposefully designed their fast food restaurants without dining space, ensuring that customers only remained on the property for a short time, Jack in the Box also included a covered outdoor dining area, which was suitable for the Southern California climate. With the small outdoor dining area balanced by a drive-through window, perhaps Peterson and Forrester lacked confidence that the drive-through would be a success. As mentioned previously, Forrester's Jack in the Box appears to adhere to Googie architectural design, but also, and more so, adheres to the tenets of the international style. In this building, form follows function, whereas contemporary fast food restaurants were a matter of form faking function. McDonald's, for example, had its golden arches, Burger King had its handlebars, Carol's from 1960 had its boomerang, and Burger Chef from 1954 had its kite, to name a few. Although these eye-catching elements serve to individualize the buildings from one another, they were not structural, nor did they represent structure. Rather, these elements were all purely ornamental. Forrester's spider legs, however, were structural. For Forrester and his Jack in the Box design, the futuristic look did not matter in the same way as it did for McDonald's and others in the fast food business of the early 1950s. It did not need to look futuristic with dramatic embellishments because the building was futuristic with its drive-through and two-way talking radio for placing orders. By not faking function, Forrester architecturally differentiated Jack in the Box from other fast food restaurants of the era. For Forrester, Jack in the Box was not really a building so much as an envelope to enclose machines to dispense food, akin to Mises' philosophy on the skin and bones of a building. And it was. With 2 employees, cooking machinery, a two-way communication device for placing orders, and even a Jack in the Box atop the roof, which was just a ploy to disguise utilities, Forrester produced a building based on its function and needs. He harnessed popular cultural traditions in roadside and fast food architecture. The Mark I design appears whimsical, but traditional for its time. Yet, Forrester approached the form as a thoughtful designer intent on solving the real, serious problem of designing a food service building for 2 employees that could provide a customer with 15 tacos through a drive-through for the first time. Thank you.